Your mind is not broken, it is carrying too much. Buddhist monks are not peaceful because fear, anger, and painful memories never appear. Those experiences arise in every human mind. The difference is that monks train themselves not to turn temporary visitors into permanent residents. Today on Daily Dharma, we will explore 15 burdens Buddhist monks learn not to keep in the mind. Some look like protection. Others disguise themselves as ambition, loyalty, or common sense. Yet each one quietly steals attention from the only moment you can actually live, this one. Stay to the end, because the final teaching changes the way we see every loss, every fear, and every beautiful thing we are trying to hold. After that, I will guide you through a simple two-step practice you can use tonight. These are not commandments, and they are not reasons to judge yourself. Think of them as places where the hand of the mind has closed too tightly. As we move through them, notice where your body reacts. The teaching that makes you uncomfortable may be the one you most need. We begin with the burdens left behind by the past. The first is resentment. Resentment feels protective because it keeps the memory of an injury alive. The mind believes that if it continues replaying the betrayal, it will never be fooled again. But remembering the lesson and reliving the wound are not the same. Buddhism does not ask you to excuse cruelty or welcome harmful people back into your life. You can forgive and still maintain distance. You can release hatred and still keep a boundary. The practice is to notice when a memory stops teaching and starts burning. At that moment, do not add another imagined argument. Do not give the person who hurt you another hour inside your mind. Keep the wisdom. Put down the poison. Releasing resentment does not happen in one dramatic moment. It happens each time the memory returns and you choose not to rebuild the courtroom. That repeated choice is where freedom begins. Resentment often travels with a second burden, anger rehearsed in private. Anger can reveal injustice or a violated boundary. The first wave may be natural. What exhausts us is the story we repeat after it arrives. We retell the event, strengthen the language, imagine revenge, and call this preparation. In reality, the body remains trapped inside a conflict that may have ended long ago. A monk does not deny anger. He observes it before feeding it. When anger rises, move attention from the story to the body. Notice the heat, the tight jaw, the pressure in the chest. Breathe before speaking. Then ask, what wise action is required? Perhaps you need to communicate clearly. Perhaps you need to leave. Perhaps nothing can be changed now. Anger may deliver a message, but it does not need to become your address. The third burden is the unfinished conversation. These are the arguments held with people who are not in the room. You imagine what you should have said, predict their reply, defeat it, and begin again. The conversation feels productive because the mind is active, but activity is not always progress. Ask one question. Is there a real conversation I need to have? If yes, choose a time, speak honestly, and listen. If no action is possible, recognize the scene for what it is, a mental performance. You do not have to attend every debate your mind schedules. The past becomes even heavier when pain hardens into identity, our fourth burden. A betrayal happened, and gradually you become the betrayed one. You were abandoned, and now you are the person nobody chooses. You survived a painful childhood, and strength becomes the only role you allow yourself to play. The wound was real. Its consequences may still be real. But healing does not erase what happened, and peace does not mean the person who hurt you has won. Buddhist teaching reminds us that the self is not a fixed object. You are a changing process. A painful chapter belongs to your history, but it does not deserve authorship over every chapter that follows. Instead of saying, "This is who I am," try saying, "This is what I learned to become in order to survive." What was learned can be examined. What is examined can begin to change. This is not a denial of your story. It is the decision to stop using the past as a prophecy. You can honor the person who survived without forcing that person to control the rest of your life. We have looked at the past. Now notice how suffering enters through the eyes of other people. The fifth burden is the craving for approval. Praise is pleasant, but it is unstable. Public opinion changes. The people who admire you today may misunderstand you tomorrow. When your worth depends on their response, your peace lives in someone else's hands. This craving appears in small choices. Saying yes when you mean no, hiding an honest opinion, postponing a dream until someone gives permission. Little by little, the desire to be accepted turns into self-abandonment. Buddhist practice does not require indifference to feedback. Listen to wise criticism. Appreciate encouragement. But before choosing, ask a deeper question. Does this action reduce suffering? Is it honest? Is it compassionate? Does it reflect the person I want to become? Approval is temporary. Integrity leaves the mind quieter. The moment you stop auditioning for everyone around you, some people may become uncomfortable. That discomfort is not always proof that you are wrong. Sometimes it is proof that you have stopped abandoning yourself. From approval, we move naturally into the sixth burden, comparison. Comparison takes another person's visible moment and uses it as evidence against your entire life. Their success becomes your failure. Their beauty becomes your disappearance. Their progress becomes proof that you are late. But you do not know the causes and conditions behind another person's path. You see the result, not the fear, sacrifice, privilege, timing, or hidden pain that shaped it. The Buddhist antidote is mudita, sympathetic joy, learning to welcome the happiness of others without treating it as a threat. When comparison appears, say, "May their good fortune continue. May I also create the causes for a meaningful life." Then return to your own next step. Not the whole staircase, just the next honest step. The seventh burden is envy itself. Envy is not proof that you are a bad person. Often it is information. It may reveal a dream you have neglected or a life you are afraid to pursue. Shame only adds another layer of suffering. Instead of asking, "Why do they have it?" ask, "What does this reaction reveal about what I value?" Let envy point toward action rather than bitterness. Do not stare at another person's harvest while refusing to plant your own seeds. The need to be right is the eighth burden, and it can destroy relationships while pretending to defend truth. Many conversations begin with a problem and end as a contest. We stop listening. We collect evidence. We correct details while ignoring pain. Winning becomes more important than understanding. Buddhism warns against attachment not only to possessions but also to views. This does not mean every opinion is equally true. It means the ego can turn an idea into an extension of itself. Then any disagreement feels like a personal attack. Before defending your position, pause and ask, "Am I protecting truth or protecting my image of myself?" Sometimes wisdom speaks clearly. Sometimes it apologizes. Sometimes it says nothing and listens. A useful test is to notice what remains after the conversation. Victory often leaves both people more distant. Understanding may not produce agreement, but it leaves less poison behind. Close beside the need to be right is the ninth burden, permanent judgment. A person behaves selfishly, and the mind concludes they are nothing but selfish. Someone fails, and we turn one event into their entire identity. Discernment remains necessary. Compassion is not permission. You can recognize harmful behavior, create distance, and refuse repeated disrespect. But hatred is too expensive to store. Judge actions clearly without pretending you can see the totality of another human being. Leave a small space in the mind where change remains possible, not because everyone deserves your trust, but because you deserve freedom from contempt. The next group of burdens grows from our demand that life obey the plans we created. The 10th is the need to control what happens next. Planning is useful. Preparation is wise. The suffering begins when the mind says, "I can only relax when I know exactly what will happen." Life never gives that guarantee. People change, bodies change, plans collapse. A single message can redirect an entire year. When certainty becomes a requirement for peace, anxiety becomes permanent. Notice how much life can be lost inside this demand. You may spend a peaceful afternoon preparing emotionally for a disaster that never comes. The future takes nothing from you in that moment. Your imagination does. Replace control with readiness. Control says everything must follow my plan. Readiness says whatever arrives, I will meet it with awareness. You do not need to solve every possible future. You need enough clarity to take one wise step now. The 11th burden is expectation, especially the expectation that other people should behave according to an unspoken script. They should know what I need. They should finally change. They should react the way I would. Expectations are often contracts no one else agreed to sign. We assign people roles, then suffer when they forget their lines. Healthy relationships still require honesty, respect, and boundaries. But peace cannot depend entirely on another person becoming who you imagined. Replace hidden expectations with clear communication. Replace repeated disappointment with observation. Ask, who is this person actually showing me they are? Make decisions from reality, not potential. Acceptance does not mean remaining where you are mistreated. It means seeing clearly enough to stop negotiating with a fantasy. The 12th burden is a rigid identity, the story that says change is no longer possible. I have always been anxious. I am not creative. I am the strong one. I am too old. This is simply who I am. These phrases sound like self-knowledge, but they may be old habits disguised as facts. In Buddhism, non-self points toward freedom from the belief that there is one permanent, unchanging me. Your thoughts change. Your body changes. Your understanding changes. The version of you listening now is not identical to the person you were 10 years ago. Stop protecting your limitations with the language of identity. Say, this is a pattern I have practiced. A pattern is not a prison. It can be observed, interrupted, and replaced. Now we enter the quieter burdens, the ones that invade rest and even spiritual practice. The 13th is carrying the mind of achievement into every moment. Your body lies down, but the office inside your head remains open. You review unfinished work, calculate tomorrow, and criticize yourself for not doing enough. Modern culture often calls this dedication. Buddhism recognizes the need for rhythm, effort and stillness, work and rest, speaking and silence. When productivity enters sleep, meals and relationships, you may be physically present while mentally absent from your own life. Before bed, write down what must be remembered. Choose tomorrow's first meaningful action. Then say, today's work is complete. Not everything is finished. The day is. Rest is not a reward for completing every task. Nothing living completes everything. Rest is part of wise effort. The 14th burden is spiritual knowledge collected but never practiced. You save the video, highlight the quote, buy another book, and learn another technique. For a moment, you feel transformed. Then the teaching becomes one more idea stored in the mind. Knowing the language of mindfulness is not the same as observing one breath. Understanding forgiveness is not the same as interrupting resentment. Speaking about compassion is not the same as changing the way you speak to yourself. Buddhist wisdom is medicine, not decoration for the intellect. One teaching practiced deeply can transform more than 100 teachings collected superficially. Choose one practice for the next 7 days. Right speech, patience, non-attachment, compassion, awareness before reacting. Let it become visible in your behavior. Knowledge points toward the path. Practice is walking it. The mind loves collecting answers because collection feels safer than transformation. Practice asks something more difficult, that the teaching change the next sentence you speak, the next impulse you resist, and the next person you choose to treat with care. And now we reach the burden beneath all the others. The 15th, the demand that life remain unchanged. We want the people we love to stay. We want health, youth, success, and certainty to remain. When something is beautiful, the mind closes its hand around it. But everything we love exists within change. The body ages, seasons pass, relationships transform, emotions rise and fade. Even the person you love is changing while you are loving them. Buddhist monks contemplate impermanence not to become pessimistic, but to become present. If we secretly demand permanence from a changing world, every change feels like betrayal. Impermanence is not only the reason things end, it is also the reason healing is possible. Because sadness changes, it does not define you forever. Because habits change, transformation can occur. Because circumstances change. No difficult season is the final shape of your life. Do not love less. Love more attentively. Appreciate what is here without pretending you can own time. An open hand does not throw everything away. It holds without crushing. That is non-attachment. Not the absence of love, but love without possession. Imagine holding water in your hands. Grip it tightly, and it escapes faster. Hold it gently, and for a while, it remains. Life asks for that gentleness. Not because loss will never come, but because fear of loss should not prevent you from touching what is here. Now bring these teachings into one simple practice. Sit still for a moment and ask, what am I holding right now? Do not search for the most spiritual answer. Name what is actually present. Resentment, fear, comparison, control, grief, expectation. Say, fear is present, rather than, I am afraid. Say, anger is present, rather than, I am an angry person. The language matters. One sentence turns the experience into identity. The other creates space around it. Then ask two questions. Can I take a wise action about this now? And, if no action is possible, am I willing to stop feeding this thought for 10 minutes? If action is possible, take the smallest honest step. Write the message, set the boundary, apologize, ask for help, make the appointment, begin the work. If no action is possible, return to the breath. Let the thought remain unanswered. You do not need to solve the entire future tonight. You do not need to complete every conversation inside your head. For 10 minutes, allow reality to exist without your mental commentary. Feel the breath enter. Feel it leave. Each return is a small act of non-attachment. Start with one burden, not all 15. A peaceful mind is not a mind where difficult thoughts never appear. It is a mind that knows which thoughts deserve action and which must be allowed to pass. You cannot always choose what knocks on the door of your mind, but you can choose what you continue to feed. Keep the lesson. Release the resentment. Keep the intention. Release the demand for control. Keep the love. Release the need to possess. Keep the memory. Release the identity built around the wound. Before you leave, look honestly at your own mind. Which of these 15 burdens has taken up the most space lately? Write the number in the comments. You do not need to explain everything. Let the number be a small act of awareness, and then choose one way to loosen your grip today. If this teaching brought you a moment of clarity, share it with someone whose mind has been carrying too much. Subscribe to Daily Dharma for practical Buddhist wisdom, mindfulness, and a quieter way of meeting life. Until next time, remember, thoughts may arrive without permission. Suffering grows when we build them a permanent home. See them clearly, learn what they came to teach, and when the lesson is complete, let them go.